Man, Elijah, you were right. Elijah, you actually warned us about this. You said they were coming. You said they were coming. Let me just stop there. They're already here. And who are we talking about? We're talking about Florida Memorial University's Drumline, also known as Suicide Squad. And man, these guys are like some drumline terminators. They're just chopping folks down. You know, they're just awesome at this point. So we want to just jump on into it. My name is Ricardo. I want to welcome you to HBCU Drumline Talk for our third season, episode 3. I'm also joined by my brother in percussion, EP3, also known as Elijah Powell. We're going to just jump right on in. But before we do that, we're going to introduce who we have on here today, the instructors for Florida Memorial University. We'll let you guys introduce yourself.
What's up, y'all? Glad to be on, man. Glad to be back. Love the videos you guys put out. I watch them all the time, man. I'm Taurus Lovely, Florida Memorial University drum instructor.
Okay. All right, what's up, guys? First off, thank you for having us. My name is Gerdy Chevelon, assistant percussion instructor here at Florida Memorial University. I just want to say I'm a big fan of y'all podcast. I've been watching almost every episode since it started, so definitely it's an honor to be on here to talk about our section.
And thank you. This is great. This is our third season. EP, you got anything before we jump into it?
No, man. Ready to get it going. Ready to hit about them beats that's coming down from in Florida, man.
Yeah. So I tell you what, before we even get into that, I'm going to jump right on in and just say, well, we're happy to have you guys on at this point, just talking about Florida Memorial University's Drumline. And one, just please talk with us about the standards you set for your line first.
We were lucky at to get this gig and be able to start fresh, not having to have any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Tradition. Tradition is the word. We didn't have any kind of tradition. We was able to come in, start fresh with, do whatever it is we saw fit to do with this line. However we want, if we wanted to do a course style, if we wanted to do HBC, whatever we wanted to do, we were given the green light to do that. Mr. Beckford called me in when they called me and asked me to take this gig. I was like, of course. I was gung-ho to do it. And the first thing he told me was, look, it's whatever you want to do. I trust you to do whatever it is you want to do. So that gave me the green light, and I didn't have to worry about, like I said, tradition. So we was able to do a plethora of things to create what we have right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, so to piggyback off of it, for me, I'm at Fort Lauderdale High School Drumline, and I'm still there with them. Pretty much there was a band camp they had to kind of like bring all the high schools together, obviously a recruitment ploy. And one of the assistant directors, I know him well, he brought me in to write a feature for that. And he was like, man, I want to bring you on. So I was like, okay. I talked to Taurus about it and said, hey, so-and-so wants me to hop on the staff, want to see if you're cool with it, because I'm familiar with his work through FAMU. And then obviously he has a YouTube channel that ironically back in middle school, he'll post like different grooves of the week type stuff. So I was familiar with Mr. Lovely's work. So I asked him like, hey, they want to bring me as an assistant, but I want to ask you, you're the guy in charge. And he was just like, yes, let's do it. And since then, it's been a whole lot of fun. As far as like what he said, we're just trying to, build this line from the ground up. We're trying to, because the motto that Dr. Beckford has kind of put in the whole band's ear is we're history in the making, because this band program is literally starting from the ground up, and it's all being documented through YouTube, Instagram, all of it. And so we're trying to do the same, just try to build our own legacy, build our own tradition. That way, the sections, decades down the road can look back and say, this is what Suicide Squad started from, and this is the standard and the tradition that we need to follow in order to continue what we've built.
Man, that's awesome. You got anything on that?
No, sir. No, sir.
So you guys both bring up some very good points. And one thing, before we get into the next question here, I want our audience to know, you guys just take a look at this video real quick. This was back in 2021, a little battle that took place. You guys check this out. Man, pretty spectacular there, that little exchange there, especially with Florida Memorial back in 2021. We want to fast forward here. We're going to go to the same thing, but we're going to take a look at 2022, the same battle. Take a look at this. Man, EP, the difference in the sound is just totally awesome. There was a blueprint from 2021 and they sound good, but 2022 is just like a total different drum line. Like the blueprint was already set, and then next thing you know, we're gonna start fresh and we're gonna do something different at this point in time. So this pretty much leads into my second question. So talk with us about the difference in sound between 2021, that 2021 line, and 2022 line, because there is a big difference.
Yeah. Well, the most important thing about the growth from our first year to our second year was the maturity in the sound of the guys individually. Going home, practicing, maturing their hands. We did a lot of work over the summer with a lot of exercises and maturing, especially on our snare line. Maturing our snare line and our quint line needed the most work, and maturing the sound of their hands so we don't sound like high school kids, we sound like college kids. So that was the most work that we had to do to create the sound we have now compared to the sound you saw in our first year. I think that would be the most important part of all the work we did in maturing the sound individually of the kids, they're playing. And then once it all came together in 2022, you could really, really hear the difference. It starting to sound like a college line and not, a bunch of good high school kids.
Yeah, I
piggyback off. Oh, my bad.
I can't hear a difference, between the 2 years.
Yeah, so to piggyback off of it, we killed them with all the warm-ups. I mean, I think our warm-ups sequence is about a good 6 to 7 in the book that we have to help just develop their hands up. And then also another big difference was obviously now we have a full tonal line, because the previous year, I think we only had, like, if my memory serves me correctly, about 3 bass drums, 4 tenors, 3 snares, 3/4 snares, and 2 quints. This year, we pretty much are now at 6, 7 snares, a good 6, 7 snares, 6 BDs, 6 tenors, 3 quints, and 3/4 cymbals. So we pretty much at a really good size right now. And that was the next thing. Tuning was also definitely something we took a look into. And as far as like improvement, myself and Taurus kind of sat down and said, okay, now that we got a bigger section, okay, what direction do we want to go with the tuning? Because in that clip, we had to go with the lower sound because, you got to be able to hear us. A section that small, we couldn't go on the higher end, on that part. So now that we have an actual tonal line, we have 6 tenors, we have 6 snares, we got an actual like strong number of people to play. We have to figure that out. What's the best tuning that works for us? And so this year we've been taking like Elijah said, we took our original blueprint and just pretty much just ratchet it up times 10 and just fine tune a lot of things. And we're still doing that even now to this day. Like we're still looking at things like, okay, what works, what doesn't work, what do we like, what do we don't like, and what are some things we can keep that can stay with the section for years to come.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. I said, Elijah, man, I don't know what happened from 2021 to 2022. I said, this is amazing. I said, I got to find out what they're taking. Where can I get it? Because the sound was just so much. There was a distinct difference from 2021 to 2022. And I want to say congratulations, you guys. You guys got an awesome sound. So,
well, one thing Taurus mentioned, they worked in the off season. during the summertime, that plays a big part.
Yeah, let me say something about my kids, man. I want to give them some, a lot of kids, I don't know with all the other HBCUs across the country, but we are lucky enough to 90% of our section is right from the Miami area. We were able to we grabbed a snare drummer from Southwest DeKalb. We brought her in for Southwest DeKalb. And then there was one other young lady that came in from Jacksonville. But the rest of our kids, we were lucky enough to all of them are from South Florida. So this summer, I knew we had to really go in. So they came in and did 3 a day, man. We would come in at 8 in the morning and go from 8 to 12, eat lunch, go from 1 to 5, eat dinner, go and come back again. I mean, and this happened 4 days a week for 3 months. Before we even, the Drumline was in there working almost 3 months before we had our first migration session with the rest of the band. So in front of the world, I want to give them props because they didn't have to do that, man. And we were working hard every day, not in the air conditioning, out in the sun, blazing. I remember I documented, and I remember you commented one time, I put in, on Percussion Connection, the work they were doing throughout the summer. And for about 3 months, man, we really went in and that made a difference.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It shows. And, that's a good lead into the next section. As much as is the work that you guys put in just on the off season, the hours that it takes, just give us a rundown based on those hours. What is that audition process look like for an incoming freshman?
With our program being so new, like I said, we're just going to only be in our 3rd full season this coming fall. So as far as the Drumline goes, let me say with the band, they got a packet, man. Dr. Beckwood done put together a packet. They got a lot of stuff that they have to know before they come in. But as the Drumline goes, it's so new, we don't have a whole lot of pre-work that they will have to do. He wrote a couple of etudes that Dr. Beckford wrote that they have to know. And then there's this rudimental solo called The Winner that I'm very fond of. I really like that solo. I put that in the packet along with his etude, and that's what we'll be sending out for the future. And if you can get around those 2 things, those 2 pieces of music, we can use you.
Yeah, Elijah, let me just comment on that. I think this is one of the first times, man. I go back to, there's a lot of firsts this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think this is like the first time we've actually heard a percussion instructor say, no, we have a prepared piece, The Winner, that's in the packet, show up and do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's really great. I haven't heard that too much, but thank you for putting it out.
Yeah. So like I said, we're fairly new, and we're trying to build this thing up. We're trying to build this line, and we taking whoever we can get, building up. But if you're gonna play snare drum and if you're gonna play quints on this line, there's that standard. It's not gonna be just grabbing and come on, you can play this. Nah. It's a standard, and you can see it. You can see it when you see our line. We're not taking anybody at those 2 on those 2 instruments. So.
Yeah, if you're gonna play snare quints over here, you got to have a strong rudimental bass, standard 40 hybrids, and then you got to be able to adapt because especially with Taurus, there's some things he's gonna throw at you that's gonna be like, what? Because even me, in Afro-Cuban, one of the cadences that we added to the book this year. There's a rudiment that sounds like a grandma, but it's actually an inverted paradiddle that he showed the snares. And I was working it with them too. And I'm like, oh, that's different. Like, it's super different. And so when you hear it, you think we're playing diggity up like the regular, paradiddle tap. But the reality is the sticking is kind of inverted. So now you're just like, it's going to throw you off. And he threw Cal me for Luke. I'm just like, that's really unnatural, but it's dope. And so you got to have good hands.
and it's where it starts in the count. You know, it's a drum set player thing that I threw at him, and where that inverted paradiddle starts is what, you know, makes the difference. But yeah, at those two instruments, we're not taking anybody. I will even go as far as to say I had 6 snares this year, and I'll stay at 6 if I don't have kids who are going to come in and be at a certain standard when it comes to that instrument.
Good.
Ooh. Ooh. So I see y'all mentioned the cadence Afro-Cuban, which is, you know, my favorite. You know, as soon as I heard it, Taurus, I hit you up. I was like, man, y'all doing some good writing down there. You know, had me going back to the drawing board, like, damn, let me get my skills up. But talk to us about the process when arranging for, you know, Florida Memorial.
When I'm putting this stuff together, man, I'm a drum set player by trade. You know, I'm a drum set player by trade. So the first thing that's got to be happening is it's got to be grooving. You know, the first thing that's got to happen is got to be grooving. And by me being a drum set player, I play a lot of different styles of music. I play, you know, Latin music. I play straight ahead jazz, gospel, rock, whatever. So I knew in building, whenever I got my own line, I was going to be incorporating all of these things that I've had to approach at the drum set. I'm going to approach the drum line with all of these different styles. So you hear that cadence Afro-Cuban. It's a direct connection to playing. If I sit at the drum set and I'm playing a tune and it's a mambo tune, you know, or you got that Brazilian, you can hear all three of those things. You can hear those two things in that Afro-Cuban cadence, and it's built from playing that Latin music at the drum set. So once we establish groove, now we're going to go and put the drum line part over the top of it. So I'm going to come up with a line. I'm going to play, and this I've been writing like this for a long time. Me and my nephew Taurus Lovely was writing for FAMU, and this is the same approach that we've taken all those years back. I would play a snare line, maybe 8 bars or 16 bars, and I would record it, video record it. I send it to him, and I say, hey, if I say this to you, what do you say back to me? That way, and I've done this the same thing once I started working with Gerdy. Whenever I got an idea, I send him a 8 counts or 16 counts, and I say, hey, Gerdy, this is my 16 to 8 counts. Send me back what you will reply to me in conversation. If I said this to you, what do you say back to me? That way, when we're writing snare lines, it's not just a bunch of rudiments piled on top of each other. It's an actual conversation happening when you hear these lines go by. So if I say, I said, Gerdy, what would you say back to me? And Gerdy goes, now we got conversation instead of just a bunch of rudiments piled on top of each other. Yeah. Now we have groove, and now we have what you would hear, what some call chops, snare line chops, that we done put over the top of this groove. And now we have a snare part, we got a groove. Now we're gonna make these quints play what those snares played, and we're gonna move it around the drums. And once we put all that together, man, then you get what you hear.
Gotcha. Gerdy, you want to chime in?
What he said, there's been plenty of times he sent me an idea. So for example, to give action an example of one of our cadences, Pulse. Over the summer, he sent me that idea, and I was just like, okay, I like this. So then he wrote, I want to say about a good chunk of it, and then I finally got to it, and I was like, okay. When I was listening, I was like, I want to put this, like, to piggyback off the drum set idea. There's a part in there where we did kind of like a drum set pedal type thing where it's like cha 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 cha. And so I'm like, where the last phrase he did, I said, all right, bet, put that there. And then he took that same idea that I did with the drum set pedal and it went into a whole nother groove after that. So it's just things like that that we like to do to play off each other's ideas. Because at the end of the day, we want every cadence to be unique to itself. We don't want everything to sound the same. Like we want to give whoever's listening to our music, no matter if you're a percussionist who's been doing this for decades or someone who literally just pick up a stick that day, like we want everybody to enjoy the sound of Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Let me say this to that. When we're writing for our group, we try to stay away from writing for drummers, writing for the drumline cats. We're trying to write for the average ear that's coming now. We're going to have those chops and all that stuff in there so we don't get canned when we battling somebody. All that's going to be there. So we in the battle. But we try to not write over people's heads. I think that's very important. I think a lot of people are writing over the heads of the average Joe that's standing out there listening. So our sound and our approach is to not write over those people's heads, but to also be bringing enough rudimental skill that we can stand in the battle and hold our own.
Yeah, that's something I had to learn myself. You know, I was trying to write for the drummer, you know, the advanced drummer, but sometimes you got to scale it back and write for, you know, the trumpet player or the dance, you know, whatever, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. So if you listen to most of all of our cadences, you know, we've pretty much posted our whole book on Percussion Connect so people can see what we're doing. We don't care. We want people to see it. You can hear each one of those cadences has its own particular thing, but it's all surrounded by some type of groove and some type of conversation happening. There's a lot of conversation, you know, happening in all of those pieces.
Yeah, sounds good on my end. So, I guess for the people who don't have a trained ear, I would say, what makes your arrangements different from any other HBCU line? I can tell.
I would say our tuning is definitely got its own thing. Everybody is talking about the SFX cymbals that we put on the snare drums. That's brought about a sound that nobody else has that we have. But there's one other thing that I would like to share that we do that nobody else does, but nobody has really talked about it or really said anything about it. Our tenor drums, the way we tune our tenor drums has made our sound. If you ever stand in front of our line and you stand in front of us live instead of videos and you hear the line playing in unison, our tenor drums are tuned like tonal drums. They have their own pitch, 1 through 6. And we play a lot of runs and stuff with our tenor drums. And when you hear those tenor drums play in unison, they create this power chord. They create this sound that nobody else is getting with their tenor drums. And I'm surprised that nobody has said anything about that or nobody really caught it, because in almost every cadence, we send in tonal lines with those tenor drums. Mm. And I can't take credit for that idea. I got to give Taurus Lovely, my nephew, all the credit for that idea, because how it came about was I was undecided on whether I would use chest tenors or I would use leg tenors, because I come from FAMU. We use leg tenors, so I was undecided. But when I got to the school and those girls, my mind was on, nah, we ain't playing no chest tenors. Forget that. I'm all right. I'm gonna do downright. But when I got there and we did our first camp and them girls was back there playing them tenor drums, there was no way I could take that from them. They were playing them things. It was sounding so beautiful. I wasn't even a fan of it when we first started doing it, but now I love it. I absolutely love it, because I could not change it because of the way they were playing and the confidence they were playing them with. But what we did do differently was that idea Toby came up with was to make them tonal instead of making them all unison. And that one thing right there, to me, is the biggest difference in our sound when it comes to us and everybody else.
Okay. All right. Girl, you want to chime in or?
Yeah, the tonal tenors is definitely when Taurus brought the idea up to me in 20 that migration are pretty much our pre-drill, our band camp, when we were going over just how we want to set the tone. When he brought the idea up to me, I said, okay, should be interesting. And now a year later, I'm just like, damn, we made the right choice, because it's definitely, and I'm to piggyback what he said, it's just I'm actually surprised no one else has actually brought up the tenors, because I don't think I've ever even seen any HBCU drumline fully commit to, like, I've seen lines like obviously play splits with their tenors, but actually making them play as if they're throwing splits like a bass drum section. I ain't never seen that before. So when he brought the idea up, I was like, okay, it should be interesting. And even till now, I'm trying to experiment of how to do that with our section now. Because I'll give all the credit to Taurus on the writing for the tenors, as far as like the different tonal parts they play and all that. And as far as the tuning goes, he kind of just told me, hey, this is where I want it. You got the ear, you always, because I'm like between the two of us, I'm like the mechanic.
The mechanic, boy.
I'm like the mechanic. I like to tinker a lot with different sounds and whatnot, and just tell Taurus like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So when he told me, hey, this is how I want the tenors to sound, man, I can't tell you how many times when he'll be on tour and we're on the phone, I'm just like, all right, here, is that good? He's like, yeah, but this one, bring it about to this chord or put it that. Like, it's a whole lot of like, there was a lot of thought process that's went into the tonal tenor idea. So I'm happy to say that that's one thing that between that and then obviously us having the FX stacks on there, those are two things that really separate us from all the other HBCU drum lines.
Well, I can't say I honestly didn't catch the tenor drum as far as the tonals. I'm so caught up in the actual material. But what would be some tips for any up and coming composers, arrangers in the HBCU world? As far as writing.
I know a lot of, I'm a big fan of DOA. I like what they're doing. My only thing that I would say to these guys when I go on there and listen, and let me say this while I'll be on the Percussion Connection talking a whole lot of trap. Let everybody, I'm just on there having fun, guys. I'm just trying to get a laugh out of people. But space. I got one word, man, space. You gotta have space. There's just so much going on in a lot of these cadences. To my ear is just so many places. And I have to listen to a lot of this work that a lot of the guys do. I got to listen to it 10 times to get like one thing. I don't know if that's what they're going for, but I would say space. I think it's just a lot going on, a lot of stuff happening in these cadences. I think we just need a little more space. And then my second thing and last thing would be what we mentioned earlier. Don't write every cadence for the drumline guy that's standing out there. Every cadence you're playing sound. Every cadence is going in on every rudiment you know and you ever learned. Every hybrid, sometimes you just got to write for the average Joe that likes to listen to music on the radio. Well, I have a saying, me and my nephew Tova, and we write our cadences and we use what we like to call song mode. We write in song mode. We got an intro, we got a verse, we got a bridge, we got some ad-libs. We like to think that process when we're writing the cadence. Therefore, we don't have a whole bunch of jumbled up stuff going on at the same time. We actually have a roadmap that we're following, so we have the space and we know who we're writing for.
I can't say it works. It's working.
So to piggyback off what he said about the whole idea of space, ironically, at the high school I currently work at, Mr. Lovely judged us at a few competitions in the past. And when we finally got together at Florida Memorial, he was just like, hey, I kind of asked him like one day, just like, yo, what's the one thing my section is missing as far as my writing? And he's just like, you write some dope stuff. It's all aggressive and it's groovy, but at times, he said it straight up. There's moments where your foot's on the gas just a little too much. Instead of going, 100 miles per hour the whole time, maybe you just want to like, stay at 70, 60, even sometimes 50. And there's nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, you want people to enjoy what your section is playing, what you're writing. And sometimes, like you said, you could write the most like musically just perfect phrase in a cadence. And for guys like us, it's just like, damn, whew. But for someone who doesn't know drumming like that, it's just going to be like right over their head. They're just gonna be like, what was that? Oh, okay, that sounds cool, but I don't know what it was. So that level of appreciation isn't there as much. Like, we can appreciate stuff like that because we all understand, hybrids and different time signatures and just playing around with meters and all that different stuff and accounting and just the whole 9 yards. But even certain high schoolers, they'll hear a cadence from some of these colleges, because even my high school students, they'll hear cadences from certain colleges and they will be like, oh, that's dope. But, they won't appreciate it as much as it should. Whereas me, if I hear it, I'll be like, yo, that is dope as you know what. But like I said, that comes with just time and experience. The other thing I can say with the writing is me and Taurus definitely have our strengths of what we like to focus on. So for me, the one thing I always like to do is just whenever, and he knows I'm notorious for this, whenever he writes a cadence and there's just like that little bit of space in there, it's like the tonals, I'm going right to them and telling them, all right, put this little pattern here to either one, fill it up to give it a little bit more color, or two, if the snares, and I do this a lot, if the snares are playing like a certain phrase, I would like tell the tonals, all right, guys, snares are playing this, play this to help add some more flavor to it, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like my little spin to that.
Ooh,
Man,
ooh.
let me tell you something that's funny. When it comes to us, me, Gerdy, and I writing for our section and what we get, we had the kids. They call me, our kids on the drum line call us the Sour Patch Kids, because I come in and I keep it nice and easy and simple and sweet, and then Gerdy comes in and hit the gas on them. So they call me sweet and he's sour, man. So we the Sour Patch Kids over on that outside of town, man. But it works for us, man. I keep it simple, I keep it groovy, and then my man Gerdy comes in and throws those chops, them 20-year-old chops on top of it, and then we get what we got.
Ooh.
Man, Elijah, we have covered so much ground in a short amount of time. I feel like we can just keep going about the same topic. But you guys talked about some important points. And one thing with everything, put everything aside, the drumming and everything, and let's just think about chemistry with instructors, right? In a particular drum line. How important is it to have good chemistry on the staff in the drum line?
Chemistry, I mean, that's very important. There's a lot of variables to that, because when you're working with these young kids, these college kids, you got to motivate them sometimes. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes they hungry and they ready to go. So now you got to have the guy on your staff that's going to keep these kids motivated and hungry and ready to go. It's not always going to be about the cadences and writing the music. You know what I'm saying? That's the easy part. We all drummers. We love doing that. We're going to have that camaraderie. But you're going to have some guys on the staff you're working with. Us is just two of us. So we have to juggle the guy who's going to keep them motivated, the guy who's going to discipline the hell out of them when they need it, the guy who's going to have some fun with them when they need to have some fun instead of being serious all the time. There's those different levels that when you putting together your staff for your drum line on this level, on the college level, you're going to have a staff that you can play. Because if you stand in front of your kid and you can't play what you're trying to tell them to play, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. You ain't finna get nothing done. So it's important to have, guys on your staff that can not only come up with this stuff, but can play it, can write it, can play it, can teach it.
For me, it's just so different because the age difference, because for me, I'm a lot closer to their age, me being 24, could dang near march with those guys if I could. And so for me, my role is kind of like the older brother, if that makes sense for a lot of the guys on the section, because like I said, if it was possible, I could be right there with them playing and marching and all that. So also with me, I'm kind of like the one who kind of like the stress. And Taurus is like this too, but I'm also just like the person that's kind of like the goof, if that makes sense, to like help, brighten up things in practice. So every once in a while on the field, because I'm especially like when we're on the field, and as percussionists, we all know how this goes. We're on the field in full band and we're barely playing. We're running the same part over and over again, or we're doing drill or dance routine, and we're just like, as drummers, we want to play. We don't want to just sit here and, all right, move to this yard line, and you know what I'm saying, it gets boring. And for the guys, for our guys here, it's no different. It can get really like they can get a little agitated by just sitting there and just going 10, 15, 20, 30, even 40 to an hour, not really playing for real. And so there's moments where I'm in the field and I'll just pop off a joke, or I'll just say something to just like help, keep them focused, because like I said, we all know as drummers, we all been there. It can get really boring on that field. And then then all of a sudden you're looking at your phone or your watch. It's like, all right, is it time to go home yet? Dang, it's still another hour. So I kind of just try to be that person to just like, relieve the stress of being a part of a college marching band, make it as fun as possible. And Taurus too, like if you were to talk to any of our guys, they'll tell you straight up, like Gerdy and Taurus, like they have a standard of what they want the line to be and how we play and all that stuff. But man, they'll have moments where they'll just look at us like, y'all some big behind kids. Like, they'll tell straight up.
We dig into them hard, but then we make sure they're enjoying it at the same time.
Yes, sir.
You got to mix it up, have fun with them also.
Outstanding. Good points, you guys. So before we pretty much close out with this, well, my last question here. You guys look good and you sound good, especially with the drums that you guys are playing on. And, just all around in the HBCU drumline world, there's folks that are using Yamaha, folks that are using Pearl, even Dynasty seems to be real popular. There's a few select lines that's out here using Ludwig drums. And personally, I think Ludwig sound awesome. And I think they sound really good. So if you can, just talk to us about the Ludwig sound for your line.
When we started, when I came out, they had already had these Ludwig drums when I got there. I didn't know much about Ludwig. I know Ludwig was the standard many, many years ago. But when I got there, I was pleasantly surprised at how these drums sound. I was pleasantly surprised. I was always talking about, okay, what kind of drums I'm going to get? I'm going to get something different. But when I heard these drums, it was great. The snare drums, let's start there. I came in and I didn't want to have a sound that was on the low end. I didn't want to have a sound that was on that popcorn really high end, like, say like Bethune-Cookman or Norfolk. They got that really high, because I knew from the start we weren't going to have a big section. We're going to have 2 or 3, maybe 4 snares. So there was no way I was going to be able to play that high-pitched sound. So the Ludwig drums to me do a great job at sitting at that really rich range. Depending on what kind of heads you use. We right now on our snare drums, we using the Remo Black
White
Max
currently. Well, White Max currently.
We go between Black Max and White Max. But right now we have White Max on it. That White Max head with that Ludwig, what is it? The competition series? That's what it's called. Gerdy, is it called competition series? Something like that.
I believe it's the Ultimate Series.
Ultimate Series or something like that. But anyway, very rich sound in the area that we're at. We're sitting, if you low and you got that really high sound, we're sitting right at the middle of it right there with our snare drums, because we don't have 12, 13, 14 snare drums. We only started out with 3 or 4. So we had to make a sound that would project with just a small amount of, drummers. So now we have 6, and that sound is really nice and rich with our snare drummers. The tonal bass drums are very, very, very warm. I like the warmth of the tonal bass drums, and we're not sitting really really high. All the pictures that we're using with the Ludwig drums, the word that I would use is very rich sound. We're getting a very, very rich sound from our snare drums, very warm sound from our tonal bass drums. Our quints, we got the bigger size drums of the quints. Now Gerdy does a good job at taking those quints up with those bigger sizes, and they really project with the bigger size drums, but taking them up. I think the quints are the only spot in our section where we really got those drums tuned up in the air. And we're really happy with the sound we're getting from Ludwig right now. We approached a little bit of doing that whole System Blue thing. I forget what they call it, performance series. Mm-hmm. We tickled with that a little bit, but we stayed with the Ultimate, and we really like that rich projection that we're getting with the Ludwig drums.
Oh, good points. Thank you.
All right, so going to the last question. What was you guys' most memorable moment of the season?
Oh man, for me, and I'll let Gerdy. I know I'm answering all the questions first. My bad, Gerdy.
Nah, it's all good. You know, you got that.
You go ahead. You get this one first. Now I go second. Go ahead.
Best moments. There's two that stand out. I have to put them both because I can't. It's hard. I guess you say 1A, 1B. First one I'll mention is obviously the battle against E-Dub, because this was like our chance to like really like set the tone of just like, all right, this is year 2 of, you know, of Suicide Squad and the Roar, our marching band as a whole, just being out there. And now we have a actual full-size section with all the necessary components and pieces. And it was just like, all right, now all that work we put in, it's kind of start putting on display. So that battle against Edward Waters was just like, that was like the tone setter, because a year ago, everybody was like, okay, there's potential here. Let's see what they look like with numbers and, you know, and all this, that, and third. And so that was like that was the first big moment. The other was the game against Southern University. Going to Southern and going into that environment, it was different because I've never been to a SWAC game ever with any SWAC band. And so I always heard the stories of like, it's different, you know, it's like a war, and they weren't lying, man. There's videos of us getting off the bus and we got someone heckling us saying like, y'all trash and this, that, and third, and whatever, all the stuff they tell y'all about the SWAC of, you know, you got to come in there just with a level of focus and discipline. It's the truth. You go to these SWAC schools. I mean, it's Southern. Southern's arguably maybe the most like, in terms of just like, I'm trying to think of the right word right now. Just in terms of just viewership and just like history, they're up there. And so for us, that was a big moment for us to like, you know, we're on their field where so many bands have gone to go do battle with them. And for us, that was a big moment, you know, and I'm hoping we have more moments like those with some of these other well-known colleges as well, so we can continue to build our name.
Yeah. Ooh. For me, man, I agree with him. As soon as you asked the question, it was that battle against E-Dub, the first game this season, because from where we were my first year and to where those kids were when we walked out of that gate to walk over and battle them, I was so hyped. I was so ready. I was like, this is about to be a massacre, and they don't even know it yet. I was so hyped. But more so because of the work that had been put in all summer long. The work, and then once we got that first battle out of the way, and the way my kids felt after that battle was over, there's some people don't feel like we won that battle. There's some people that pick E-Dub to win that battle. But for me and my guys, that night right there was a tone setter for who we will be from here on out. And man, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much. That would be the night that stood out to me the most. I was walking around with my chest out far as I could after that battle, man, because them kids put it down, man. And I felt great for them because of all the hard work they put in. We kicked their butts the whole summer for that very one moment. at that. Nothing else mattered to us but that one moment, because we knew we would be battling them. So the whole summer of preparation went into that moment. Did they play as clean as they played in rehearsal? No, they didn't. But did they kill it? Man, I was so proud of them kids, and that would be the moment that stood out for me.
Like I said in the beginning, Drumline Terminators came out the box.
Yeah. All right, so we come to the end, but we do have a bonus question. So, all right, so picture we in Florida on any random football field. I would say November of next year. You know, everybody's season went through the whole season chops. You know, everybody's at their peak. You know, we got Florida Memorial, Bethune, FAMU, Edward Waters. Who comes out on top?
Before I answer that question, let me go back to the last question for a minute, because I do have one more moment that I just was cheesing, and I couldn't even sleep that night. When y'all boys did that top 10, HBCU Drumlines of the season.
Oh, yeah.
The top 5.
That top 5, yeah, it was the top 5. And Florida Memorial Drumline was being mentioned. And that, not that we were the best, but we were just in the conversation. Bro, I got to be honest. That might have been bigger for me than that night of that battle. That might have been, I got to be honest, that was bigger for me. I couldn't even sleep the rest of the night. I had jitters. I was ready to go get back to work. That night, when me watching y'all do that, I think that might have been the highlight of my time at Florida Memorial so far. Us just being in the conversation, being mentioned as a top 5, as somebody think we that high on the totem pole when it comes to HBCU Drumlines this early in the game, our own second year. So that would be the ultimate moment for me. That was the ultimate moment for me right there. So I appreciate that. But now to your last, man, you're gonna have to step the material up if you're gonna battle us, because we ain't playing. We ain't playing. And here's the deal. We're not playing drum cadences. It's like, when I say this, I want you to go back and listen to our stuff when I say this. We writing musical scores. We writing movie scores. When you listen to one of our cadences, it has a beginning and it tells a story from the beginning to the end. It tells a story and it takes you somewhere. If you're not doing that, if you just playing a bunch of grooves and you dancing, and once you start dancing, we know we got you. Once you start doing all that dancing, we know we got you. We coming and we ain't backing down to nobody. We're going to get this growth. We're going to get this size together. And I don't see us losing to nobody. If we clean, I don't see us losing to nobody. I don't care who it is.
All right. So you saying y'all will come out on top, Florida Memorial?
Yeah, we coming out on top. You can bring whoever you want to bring, and we coming out on top. No doubt about it.
All right. Gerdy, what's your answer? Between all the 4 Florida HBCUs, who coming out on top?
I don't want to show my bias here, but I mean, we have a different sound down here. It's a different sound. It's a different way of writing versus everybody else. And it's not to knock none of the other 3 schools. Like, you know, I know people on all those sections, from the instructors to actual members, but again, not to show my bias, but we got a different sound, different approach. And if you're gonna block up with us, just know, prepare for the unexpected. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
Let me answer the question again, because I guess I didn't hear the question. So you wanted to know if we had to block up as the top Florida schools, would we win? That's the question.
Yeah. So who come first, second, third, and fourth?
Oh, in Florida right now.
Let's say next year, 23.
Okay.
In November. Ooh. Everybody's at their peak.
Okay. Now let me put this out there. Let me say this, because a lot of people might not know this. I'm still writing for FAMU to this day. Me and my nephew, Taurus Lovely, I am still a big part of everything FAMU plays as a section. I am still myself and him. And now Gerdy we have our team. We like to call ourselves Play the Beats. I know y'all will see me put that in the hashtag a lot. Play the beats. Well, we invited Gerdy. Now it was only the two of us, and now it's the three of us. He is a part of that. So it'll be hard for me to, man, it'll be harder to go against them because I'm writing that also. You know what I'm saying?
I kind of figured that. That's why I asked that question. I kind of figured that.
I'm writing all that also along with my nephew. So, and now Gerdy is on our team also. So what we're very proud of is if you listen to FAMU and you listen to Florida Memorial, it's two totally different things.
Yeah.
It's two totally different things. It's two totally different sounds. Now, some of the lines you hear the snare drums play, some it might sound familiar or something like that. But as a whole, we got two different things. FAMU got a tradition that makes them sound the way they sound, even though we're playing more hybrid material and more difficult material. There's still a certain sound that you're going to get from them because they're playing that material, but with the same concept of the style that we play in. So it's gonna be hard, man. I'm gonna stay away from that ranking right there. I'm gonna stay away from that ranking. As long as we better than Bethune Cookman and E-Dub, I'm all right. If fam come and get us, then I can live with that. I don't want E-Dub to get me. I don't want Cookman to get me. So let me put it like that.
Good answer.
Ooh, that ranking them is hard. That is really hard. Because right now, I would say Florida, as far as like HBCU is concerned, is definitely, I would say you have to put us in the top 3 as far as states. Like, as far as like the states with HBCU bands in there, I think Florida's top 3 right now. And I know some guys are going to be like, what? I'm like, I mean, shoot. Look at all four lines right now are really like in a great place, like all 4. So, man, ranking, it'd be hard because even what's even better and what's also dope is just each section has its own unique style to it. Like neither, like I've always heard people say E-Dub mimics Cookman and F and Florida Memorial mimics FAMU, and I'm just like, no.
I don't hear it.
We don't
hear it at all.
Trust me, I've heard it. I've heard people say it, and I'm just like, I mean, okay.
No, I don't hear the similarities.
Oh, the similarities.
Yeah, I don't hear that.
I've heard. And I don't understand why. Like, I get it. E-Dub has instructors. Shout out to Ricky Osby and Nick Jackson, who are at Eric Waters. They're both Cookman alumni, and then obviously Taurus is here at Florida Memorial, who's a FAMU alumni. So I get the whole. Once you see that, you're just thinking like, oh, okay. Your mind automatically goes to, oh, you guys sound like the school you marched at. No, they don't. Like, if you really just take the time if you look past the schools they represent and you just look at the product they're putting out with their sections, they sound nothing like the college they marched at all. Like, at all. Like, maybe they'll be like a crumb of what they learn from their schools, but as far as like
drums. We're playing drums. It's hard not to do some similar things. Playing drums, but
well, let me chime in.
That's why I like to speak as a whole. There's a difference.
Yeah. I think just chiming in on this, this is just my opinion. I think that battle, it wouldn't come down to like lines for me. It would actually come down, I would be really looking at like the instructors and what type of material they're writing for the lines. That I think that would be the hands down deciding factor for me, not the drum line itself.
That's it. And that's what makes us scary, because we don't have this tradition we got to stick to. So you don't know what you might hear. We don't have it. So we when you hear a cadence like Afro-Cuban, we throw that out there. You don't expect that. You don't really expect that. And then we throw a cadence like Pulse. Pulse is really DCI, like drum corps, oriented. So you never know. You never know what you're gonna hear. So hey, we're gonna be working hard, and hopefully, who knows, next, when 23, it might be one of them things where all 4 of us in the same place at the same time. We do that 4x4, baby. And we see come out on top.
Yes, sir.
Ooh. All right, Rick, any last thoughts? Cardo.
I got one last thought. I just want to say thank you guys for really coming on and talking about Full Memorial University of Drumline, man. This has been such a treat. You guys are truly the real deal. This has been fun. We can keep this going, but I think we pretty much summed everything up. And I just want to say thank you guys for coming on and being our guests today.
Hey man, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. This just tells us that we're moving in the right direction, that we even invited to exchange with y'all. So man, big ups and keep doing what y'all doing. We really appreciate it.
I greatly do appreciate this opportunity. Like I said, I've seen this show plenty of times, and I was telling Taurus one day, it's like, you're gonna be on there one day. Someone's gonna notice. And today was the day, and I'm just happy that we were able to cover our section. And also, I just wanted to say this. I just want to give a big shout out to the section, to all the guys all our guys on our section right now is watching this. I think I can speak for me and Taurus. We appreciate all the work you guys do. None of this is possible without you guys. The sacrifices you made, the work you put in to help put our line in the best position possible. And the future's bright. That's all I'm gonna say. So thank you for having us. Yes, sir. You already know. You already know.
All right, cool. I want to say thanks, to both of you for taking time out your busy day, to come on the cast. Thanks to the audience for listening, tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, SoundCloud, Instagram, iHeartRadio, Pandora. Everybody be safe. Like I said, this is for the culture. It's not for us. Happy New Year, and we'll see you next year.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
Here, be safe.
you. Peace.
Appreciate it, gentlemen.